Happy New Year! 2023. What a weird year. We got Prince Harry's memoirs before he's even died. We got a platinum seller to rival Bohemian Rhapsody. But most of all, we got some pretty damn good films. And also some pretty shit ones, but we'll get to that, don't worry. This is just like a worst to best list of all the films from this year that I saw. I'm probably going to repeat myself a million times, and there's some that I didn't manage to see this year, which I will get to and update the list eventually. And there are some that I saw while making the video and didn't have time to add back in. I'll update the list on Letterboxd or in the comments or wherever. Just note that my opinions change and this list will change constantly. Anyway, let's get to it. I was really excited for this, and it's probably just down here because I was so disappointed. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey did nothing with the source material and just wanted to be a lame slasher movie that thoroughly disappointed me. I went to go see this with a group of friends, and we were laughing the whole way through until the film started, because there's just nothing enjoyable about it. It is a shallow ripoff. I hate this movie. On the first of many films my sister forced me to watch, there's barely a conflict in this story. The performances are terrible, the camera work is horrendous, the lighting is just draining. I don't know why everything is just so bright. It's barely a story, and all of the endings that we got were just nothing. This is a nothing movie. You know, this was really sad for me because I like both of these actors, and the only reason it's higher than the last two is because they had really good chemistry together. But both of the main characters are really boring and uninteresting. It's a very predictable plot, the fight scenes aren't all that interesting, in fact the action itself is kind of draining after a while. It's just really forgettable. I kind of forgot about this one when I was making this list. The controversy and rumours around this film are more interesting than the film itself. This is barely a movie. It is a Donald Trump advert. Oh my gosh, I was so excited for this movie. I am not joking, this thing is fucking amazing, but it is so bad. It is my guilty pleasure that I have seen almost every single episode of Miraculous Tales of Ladybug. And this film felt like a soft reboot, like they were just scratching everything off and starting again. My question is, why is it a musical? All of the songs are really corny, except for Hawkmoth's song. That one fucking slaps. The animation was really nice. I like the smear frames and all of the cartoonish bouncing things. The action scenes are surprisingly good, but all of this terrible stuff amounts into something that is not very good, but thoroughly entertaining. If you get a group of friends together and you throw this on, you will have an amazing time. But on the other end, you got 65. I have so little to say about this movie because it was so forgettable. Adam Driver is a good action hero. I want to see him do more action roles. But this movie was spoiled for me in both the title and the marketing. The final plot twist of this film is like a Planet of the Apes thing, where it sort of twists at the very end. Because it was so spoiled for me, it basically lacked what it was going for. The only thing it had over other dinosaur action movies, it lost out on because I saw it coming. Honestly, I thought that the cast of this one could have saved the Little Mermaid remake for me. What I got was just really bad CGI, it was so inexpressive, and the water scenes look really off, the green screen is terrible. The songs, the original songs are pretty great, and I think the covers are good, but the new ones are terrible. Like, that rap just feels like a rip-off Lin-Manuel Miranda song. Halle Berry is a good singer, and I think she did a great job in this role. Her performance, isn't anything remarkable, but I know, it's something. It's something to connect yourself to. When I went to go see the FNAF movie, there was like 10 people in the audience. Most of them were sat at the back. I was in the middle, and there were these two guys at like the third row from the front who would just lose their shit every single time some character from the games appeared. And I was so happy that I didn't feel left out because no one else knew what the fuck was going on. I have talked about this film already, so I'm going to try and keep this brief. I think the animatronics look really cool, the child acting's really great, the lead performance is pretty great. Matt Pat deserves a fucking Oscar. The problem with this movie is that every single plot twist hits you in like the span of 5 minutes. It just goes back on itself over and over, and it makes no sense, becomes completely convoluted. After I posted my original review, a friend said to me that the game would only make sense if you've played the games and you understand the lore. But that is not what a movie is. I get that they were trying to aim for the fandom, but in a way of introducing the games to someone like me who's never played them, that just makes this barely a movie. It is a collection of moments from MatPat videos. It really isn't anything special. But like I said, it looks really good. The set design, the animatronics, all really cool, but I don't know, it just made no damn sense. And not in like a David Lynch abstract way, in like a Robert Rodriguez kids movie way. For the first 20 minutes of Cocaine Bear are some of the funniest filmmaking I've ever seen. Like, there's this opening sequence with the drug lord, and it is the funniest shit I've ever seen. But the rest of the film, like after that 20 minutes is over, is just really dull. This movie feels way too long, even though it's 19 minutes. Yeah, the plot was really just whatever. But like, if this was a 20-minute short film and we only saw the first 20 minutes, it would be at the top of this list. I don't know why I'm still watching these. The MCU. Oh gosh. I was surprised by how visually colourful it was. Like, all the parts set in the quantum realm were really cool and vibrant to look at. I think the CGI is really great. The actions are pretty cool. The script is so bad. The dialogue feels so bad. The only reason it's ahead of Murder Mystery 2 is because this one looks cool. Honestly, that's it. I have already made a full video on this one, so go watch that if you want, but Evil Dead Rise just took everything good about the original trilogy and threw it in the dump. Man, I really didn't like this one. It wasn't even, like, scary. Just play the clip of the heckler, like... I have a bit of a thing with Guy Ritchie in that I think his movies are really cool, but they are really shit. Jason Statham and Aubrey Plaza are very cool in this movie and do really good jobs playing these cool characters. The problem with this movie is that nothing fucking happens. There is so many fight scenes and action scenes that are well done. Unlike Ghosted, like, these are good action scenes, but there are so many that the plot gets barely any time to itself, and the characters are all planks of wood, and there's just nothing to connect to. I got very little out of this. I didn't think this was as bad as people say. The CGI kind of worked for me. I kind of liked the whole Bollywood goofy style of it all. It kind of made me laugh sometimes. I think the film is kind of funny at times. Sometimes it's really not. Like, I'd say half the jokes land and half of them flop right on the floor. I like the time travel plot. It was a cool spin on the idea. It is kind of jumping the gun, but the DCU's over, so who cares? I did kind of fall for Michael Keaton as Batman, because I grew up with those movies and I really like him, and he's a good actor. The only real problem with this movie is that they had to CGI Nick Cage. Like, couldn't they have just actually gotten Nick Cage? The Mario movie used to be higher on this list, but I've moved it down because literally everything good about this movie is from the games. There is nothing about this movie that is special on its own. Yeah, like, everything good about this movie, like, all the Easter eggs, all the plot is just from the games. It's barely a movie. I quite like this one. It felt like it came from a true place of heart, in that it actually comes from someone genuinely wanting to express something. And I do understand how personal this film was to the director. I am genuinely impressed by it. The problem with this movie is that the plot fucking sucks. There is barely a conflict. The story doesn't really do much. It's really loose. There's no clear trajectory for the story. The stakes are insanely low. There is no sense of pace. And while the ending, I really liked the third act. It was really cool. The story is very repetitive. But the reason why it's higher than all the others is because I respect things that actually come from a person, feeling like someone actually wanting to say something. I'm a bit stumped on how to rank Fair Play, because I want to put it higher, but it is just not that good. My read on this, I have only seen this movie once. I probably need to watch it again to get the proper reading on it. But from what I remember, it was really self-indulgent and, dare I say, Oscar-baity. The relationship makes no sense, and the film does not spend time explaining these characters or getting us to know them. It only really cares about the female half of it when it spends no time on the guy. He kind of feels separate from the story, like he's in a different movie. I think the main two have really good chemistry, especially in their performances. These characters are some of the dumbest people I've ever seen in a drama movie. This relationship makes no sense. The characters make dumb decisions. The script is god-awful. The final scene makes no fucking sense. There is so much I hate about this movie. The writing is terrible. However, although Chloe DeMont's writing is terrible, I think the direction's really cool. There's some good blocking, some good camera work, and although it is very freshman year film school, I think it works. And while I don't think Chloe DeMont's a good writer, I think she is a great director, and she did some great direction for this film. And like I said, all the performances are fantastic. The first act of this film was really fun. I liked meeting all the characters and all that, but the middle act really dragged. I hated the middle act so much. It was so boring. Very little happened. If Jude Law's having fun, what else is there to complain about? I went in with such low expectations from what I was hearing that I actually came out kind of liking this one. It is way too long. It's almost 3 hours long. We don't need a 3-hour long Indiana Jones movie. Phoebe Waller-Bridge was great. I really like her. She's a very appealing actress. Fleabag is fucking phenomenal. The really weird one about this movie is that it goes off the fucking rails. The third act is cartoonishly dumb to the point where I kind of loved it. It's quite funny how Harrison Ford is just done with this franchise and just wanted to get it over and done with. Which kind of fits the character he was playing. I do like Harrison Ford. He's very funny when he's grumpy. I think this one improved on Scream 5. I liked this one a bit more. It was going for more of an action movie style, which I do really like. I think the action scenes are really cool, especially the one in the corner shop. All of the side characters are really great. The core four. Chad is the biggest bro in the world. I love that guy so much. Respect for Chad. I still really hate the lead girl. She is really boring and there's nothing about her. I do like the actress. She is a great actress and I do feel bad for her being fired. Also, what's with these stupid Ghost of Billy visions? I swear to God, these things are so dumb. Why is she seeing the Ghost of Billy? It's so corny and dumb, and they need to just get rid of it, please. I have very little to say about this one, so I'm just going to get over and done with. No Hard Feelings has a pretty terrible plot and a pretty stupid idea. And the only reason why it's this high is because it is fucking hilarious. It is so funny. Jennifer Lawrence should do way more comedies than this. She has so much comedic talent. Another comedy with a terrible plot. Nick Cage does... This really just to sum up what's so great about Nick Cage movies, in that the plot is really convoluted and stupid. It makes no sense, but it is thoroughly entertaining. Any moment where Nick Cage opens his mouth, it is the best line of the whole film. Nicholas Hoult does a pretty great job as the titular Renfield. The action scenes are really cool, the gore's pretty great. Like I said, it is such a stupid time, I cannot recommend it enough. Joyride just does everything it needs to do. It has some laughs, it has some pretty fun characters, some pretty heartwarming moments. It's a mad road trip across Asia. What else could you ask for? The reason why this one's so high is because I really like the presentation of it. All the cool miniatures and the archived footage just comes together really great. It kind of reminds me of Moon Age Daydream in how it's guiding you through a story but told through Stan's words. The real problem with Stan Lee is that it is probably the most expensive advert ever made, as it's literally just Kevin Feige showing off how much he likes to suck off Stan Lee's grave. It doesn't show you the human side of him. There's this bit about how he fell out with his work partner, and they just gloss over it so casually, like, oh, that never happened. But I just wanted to know what happened. They just gloss over it so quickly because they know that if they say anything bad about Stan, then what's the point of this? Like I said, it just felt like Kevin Feige trying to sell you another Marvel movie. Another one I don't really have much to say about. I think it builds on the building blocks of the original trilogy very well, and sort of expands on this world. It kind of felt like Barry Lyndon in the story that it was trying to tell of like a guy going from the top to the bottom, right back to the top, sort of cheating his way through society. I like the main performance. He is really great. I haven't got anything against Rachel Zegler, but the character she plays in this is so fucking boring. Everything special about Katniss Everdeen was created by Jennifer Lawrence. Like, she had to kind of make flaws out of her performance. And when you try and do that again, it just really doesn't work. Viola Davis fucking steals the show. Holy shit, she was really good in this. It's everything you'd expect from a YA fantasy story, which isn't a bad thing. I went in with expectations and it definitely topped the expectations. It was kind of cool in cinemas. Don't think I'm going to watch this one again. I have already done a full video on Wonka, and I'm not going to repeat myself. I just say that I just want Paul King to keep making these family movies until the end of time. It might not surprise you that I am not a teenage girl, and everything I'm going off of is my sister in the corner of the room saying, yep, this is what it's like. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret is one of the most accurate coming-of-age stories I've seen since, like, Lady Bird. But it kind of goes for the slightly younger age, which is a pretty bold move, considering how fantastic the lead performance is. Rachel McAdams does a great job. It really does say a lot about how religion in family and when the parents are from different religions can affect the child. Like, the best scene of the whole film is that argument scene about whether she's Jewish or Christian. It is so good. This thing is nearly perfect. In fact, it is probably a very perfect movie. It's just not really doing much new except for that one scene. I do recommend this one. It is very sweet. It's very cute. I kind of feel like reading the book, but I don't read books, so... I went into this with the lowest expectations. I have played a bit of D&D, and I'm not great, but honestly, this was just so much fun. It did just feel like this sort of Guardians of the Galaxy odyssey across this really cool fantasy world. I really liked all the characters. I really liked all the set pieces, the fight scenes. They were all really cool. The ending was really cool. It doesn't have much depth, but as a piece of entertainment, it just nails it. It is one of the biggest surprises I ever had. I really like this one. Being the finale of my favourite Marvel film, I was hell-bent on watching the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so I waited until it came out on Disney+. I really liked how this touched on Rocket's backstory. He did always feel like a blank space in the group as something that really needed to be addressed. Those scenes are very haunting and kind of terrifying, but they really worked on me. I really liked the ending. The first half an hour was kind of weak. The sort of action was a bit sluggish, and Chris Pratt didn't really act like he cared. It just does everything it needs to be a good exit for this franchise, but also James Gunn himself. One of the only 2 documentaries I watched this year. Kind of shocking, and I tried to get on top of those last year. I think this film says so much about fame and what mental health has to do with it. I'm not the biggest Lewis Capaldi fan, but after watching this, I just want to meet him and give him the biggest hug ever. He is such a fucking lad. He is the biggest teddy bear in this, and I kind of love him now. It made me want to listen to Lewis Capaldi more. I didn't like this as much as a lot of people. I know for a lot of people this was like their top 3 movies of the year, but honestly, it just felt like a cool breath of fresh air. It's cool to see like a mainstream horror movie address these kinds of issues. It is very catered for a mainstream teenage audience in that it's touching on teenage subject matter in a very modern horror way. It's a cool twist on a ghost story, and I do like what it was doing. I did enjoy it in the moment. It just didn't really leave me with much to walk away with. However, that ending was fucking phenomenal. Oh my god. Speaking of breath of fresh air, Rye Lane blends some of the best aspects of some of the best romance and comedy movies to deliver such a rich, original comedy. The colours are great, the visuals, the flashback, they all look so cool and vivid. I really liked the relationship between these two. It was rather like the Before trilogy in that you're just spending a day with these two really likable characters and watching as their relationship grows. The ending was a little underwhelming, I'd say. Like, the conflict that it ends with is kind of nothing, but I really like this one. It's another one that's easy to recommend. The first 30 minutes of The Killer is honestly one of the best sequences I've ever seen this year. It was so cool. Michael Fassbender's cold and cool performance adds so much to it. This movie is like a headache. It is so hard to get through, and while the pacing is rather slow, it draws you in very slowly with that opening sequence. Yeah, the film isn't as great after that first 30 minutes, but it is still really brilliant. There's a fight scene later on that is borderline a masterpiece. For such a cold movie, it is just 2 hours of David Fincher making fun of himself, and it's brilliant. Okay, I can explain. Or at least try to. I know for a lot of people this was their film of the year, and if it is yours, that's great. It is a good choice. This is a fantastic film. It looks amazing, the animation is gorgeous, all the fight sequences look so vibrant and colourful. I also really like the focus on Gwen this time. Any scene dedicated to her or her relationship with her dad is the best scene of the film. The problem with both of these Spider-Man movies is that in the moment you are invested, I'm connected, I'm into it. But the second that I leave the theatre, or the more I think about this film, the less I feel connected to it outside of the film. I should be able to call back to the story, the emotion, the characters and everything. But at the moment, whenever I think back to either of them, all I can say is, yeah, the fight scenes are pretty cool, and Gwen's pretty cool. I just wish there was more to connect to outside of the viewing experience. But don't get me wrong, this is a must-see for everyone. It is fantastic. Go see this movie if you haven't already. What the fuck are you doing? Beau is Afraid is one that I want to put higher, but I'm not really sure. I think it's really cool that Ari Aster gets to make this sort of big budget film for once. He was given $35 million to make it, which is kind of crazy to me. Joaquin Phoenix does a masterful job, probably his best performance since Joker. The pacing is rather slow, but I think that compensates for how repetitive the story is. Like, it's a rather simple story, don't get me wrong, of a guy who just really needs to come. I just really like this movie. It felt like a proper Odyssey epic, and I find it so funny that Ari Aster spent $35 million on a giant penis monster. Another controversial pick, but there was no doubt this was going to be in my top 10. Blackberry is not as good as some of the others on this list, but it is definitely the one that stuck with me the most. It is a very funny movie, and I like all of the performances in it. But there's just something so memorable about the idea of achieving something amazing and then have it just swept underneath you. That sort of tragedy has really stuck and resonated with me. I just really hope that Matt Johnson keeps making these movies until the end of time. Passages is probably the best film of the year, but it's definitely not my favourite. Passages has everything that it should. Gorgeous cinematography, 3 fantastic performances, a really sexy undertone. It does everything so right that there is so little it does wrong. I don't have too much to say about this one because it is just way too perfect of a movie to talk about. I think I just really like movies where a guy makes all of the wrong choices. Did I say comedies were back? Well, now they are. Bottoms is such an original take on the teen drama genre. It is crazy how funny and dark this movie is at times. It just goes off the fucking chain in the end, and I absolutely love this. Another one I want to put high on this list, but I'm stopping myself from. It also has a lot of what we don't see enough of just really douchey lead characters. Like, they are literally just two girls that want to have sex before they go to high school, and it is... They're losers, but they're also complete idiots, and it's great. They just have to learn how not to be idiots. This is something so special, and we need to see more of. It is great to know that Emma Seligman and Rachel Sennett are single-handedly saving cinema. Barbie used to be at the top of this list, and I kind of want to put it higher, but upon a rewatch, it wasn't as good as I remember. But anyway, Barbie is one of the most energetic films I saw this year. It is also one of the best made films I saw this year. Barbie Land is full of such rich detail, the production design, the cinematography, it looks gorgeous. Oh my gosh. The more time spent in Barbie Land, the better. And while the parts set in the real world are weaker, they were still just as funny. Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig are some of the funniest writers still going, and I love that they made this. Margot Robbie does a fantastic job. I totally understand if you're not into this. It's kind of corny, it's kind of cheesy at times. It's very clear that Mattel had intervened at times, trying to make this into a kids movie when it's definitely not. But I don't care, I had a fucking blast with this movie, and I want to put it as number one, but I just can't bring myself to do so. And I know this movie is about women and feminism, but the I'm Just Ken scene is the best scene of the film. Like, just about. It's close with the park scene, but it is the best scene of the film. Ryan Gosling knocks it out the fucking park here, and he must win the Oscar. Theatre Camp, another one that I don't have much to say. This movie comes from a place that loves theatre, and it is just a huge homage to the people in theatre and how that can affect you in your later life. It is probably the funniest movie of the year. It's so funny. And the ending made me surprisingly emotional. I think that it's very School of Rock in the way that it ends. That shot of Molly Gordon and Ben Platt hugging at the end was just so magical. And it's great to see Ben Platt in an age-appropriate role for once. This is probably a new Christmas classic for me. I had this whole Christmas movie video planned, but I didn't have time because I was busy celebrating Christmas. The Holdovers has so much control over tone and genre that it manages to drift between being really funny and really dark or emotional so seamlessly. It's a 2-hour film that feels like it's 5 hours long, and for once, that is a good thing. You feel like you're on this ride with these two, getting to live their experience and getting to live their relationship rather than just watch it. They're two of the best written characters of the year, and I just love them so much. It is the most beautiful, non-sexual love story of the year. And the ending is very... like, you can see it coming, but it still manages to tug at all the right heartstrings and make me very emotional. This put a massive smile on my face. A little biased since I'm such a big Wes Anderson fan, but I really like this one. It is by far his most dense and rich story so far. I find it so much fun researching what people think this movie's about and figuring out what's going on. It's a very existential film, but also very funny in its dry sense of humor. It is unlike anything he's ever made. It's beautiful, it's scary, it's haunting, it's funny. It's all that rolled into one, and I'm counting down the days until I rewatch it a third time. Hey, have you guys heard of this small indie film called Oppenheimer? It's received barely any attention, which I think is a shame because it's pretty good. Probably the greatest performance of the year so far. Emma Stone knocks it out of the fucking park. Oh my gosh, she's brilliant in this. Bella Baxter is just the best written character of the year. She digs into some of the deepest aspects of the human experience to bring out something that, if done wrong, could be really childish and annoying, but came out as something so genuine. And I haven't even talked about the look of this movie. It is the best looking film of the year. The sets, the CGI, the skies, like it's all so colourful and vivid, and oh my gosh, it's pure eye candy. Mark Ruffalo playing one of the funniest creepy guys ever. He plays such a loser who is just so funny. And much like Asteroid City, it is so dense and rich with detail. There is so much in the script, in the plot. There is so much to this film that I will never understand, and I just know that I'm going to watch this about 20 more times. It is a masterpiece, front to back, the best film of the year. So I'm sorry that I missed out on The Meg 2, as we all know that would have been number one. So I want to wish you all a very happy new year, and I've got some good plans for next year. Have a nice day. See you next year.